The Apology by Plato. Translated by FM Stawell. Read for you by JP Kloess. I do not know, men of Athens, what you have felt in listening to my accusers, but they almost made me even forget myself, they spoke so plausibly. And yet, I may say, they have not spoken one word of truth. And of all the lies they told, I wondered most at their saying that you ought to be on your guard against being misled by me, as I was a great speaker. To feel no shame when they knew that they would be refuted immediately by my own action, when I show you that I am not a great speaker at all. That did not seem to me the height of their audacity, unless perhaps they mean by a great speaker a man who speaks the truth. If that is their meaning, I would agree that I am an orator, though not like them. For they, as I have told you, have said little or nothing that is true. From me you will hear the whole truth. Not, I assure you, that you will get fine arguments like theirs, men of Athens, decked out in their splendid phrases. No, but plain speech, set forth in any words that come to hand. I believe that what I have said is true, and I ask that none of you should look for anything else. Indeed, gentlemen, it would hardly suit my age to come before you like a boy with a made-up speech. And yet I do ask one thing of you, and I ask it very earnestly. If you find I speak in my defense just as I have been accustomed to speak, over the banker's table in the marketplace, as many of you have heard me, there and elsewhere, do not be surprised at it, and do not interrupt. For this is how the matter stands. This is the first time I have ever been in a lawsuit, and I am 70 years old, so I am really an entire stranger to the language of this place. Now just as you would have forgiven me, I am sure, had I been actually a foreigner, if I had spoken in the tongue and manner to which I had been born, so I think I have a right to ask you now to let my way of speaking pass, be it good or bad, and to give your minds to this question, and this only, whether what I say is right or not. This is the virtue of the judge, as truth is the virtue of the orator. Now in making my defense, men of Athens, it will be well for me to deal first with the first false accusations and my first accusers, and afterwards with those that have followed. For I have had many accusers who have come before you now for many years, and have not said one word of truth, and I fear them more than Antiochus and his supporters, though they are formidable too. But the others, gentlemen, are still more to be feared. I mean the men who took most of you in hand when you were boys, and have gone on persuading you ever since, and accusing me, quite falsely, telling you that there is a man called Socrates, a philosopher, who speculates about the things in the sky, and has searched into the secrets of the earth, and makes the worst appear the better reason. These men, Athenians, the men who have spread this tale abroad, they are the accusers that I fear. For the listeners think that those who study such matters must be atheists as well. Besides, these accusers of mine are many, and they would have been at this work for many years, and that too when you were at an age when you would have been most ready to believe them, for you were young, some of you were mere striplings, and judgment had really gone by default, since there was no one to make the defense. And what is most troublesome of all, it is impossible even to find out their names unless there be a comedian among them. As for those who have tried to persuade you through envy and prejudice, some, it is true, convincing others because they were convinced themselves, these are the hardest to deal with of all. It is not possible to call upon any of them here and cross-examine them. One is compelled, as it were, to fight with shadows in making one's defense, and hold on inquiry where there is nobody to reply. So I would have you understand with me that my accusers have been, as I say, of two kinds, those who have just brought this charge against me, and others of longer standing, of whom I am speaking now, and I ask you to realize that I must defend myself against the latter first of all, for they were the first whom you heard attack me, and at much greater length than those who have followed them. And now, I presume, I must make my defense, men of Athens, and try in the short time I have before me to remove from your minds this calumny which has had so long to grow. I could wish for that result, and for some success in my defense if it would be good for you and me, but I think it is a difficult task, and I am not unaware of its nature. However, let the result be what God wills, I must obey the law and make my defense. Let us begin from the beginning, and see what the accusation is that gave birth to the prejudice on which Meletus relied when he brought his charge. Now what did they say to raise this prejudice? I must treat them as though they were prosecutors, and read their affidavit. Socrates, we say, is a trouble to the state. He is guilty of inquiring into the things beneath the earth, and the things of the firmament. He makes the worst appear the better reason, and he teaches others so. This is the sort of thing they say. You saw it yourselves in the comedy of Aristophanes, a character called Socrates carried about in a basket, saying that he walked on air, and talking a great deal more nonsense about matters of which I do not understand one word, great or small, and I do not say this in contempt of such knowledge, if anyone is clever at those things. May Meletus never bring so grave a charge against me. But in truth, gentlemen, I have nothing to do with these subjects. I call you yourselves, most of you, to witness. I ask you to instruct and tell each other, those of you who have ever heard me speak, and many of you have. Tell each other, I say, if any of you have ever heard one word from me, small or great, upon such themes, and you will realize from this that the other tales people tell about me are of the same character. There is, in fact, no truth in them at all, nor yet in what you have heard from others, that I try to make money by my teaching. Now here again, I think it would be a great thing if one could teach men as Gorgias of Leontini can, and Prodigus of Chaos, and Hippias of Elea. They can all go to every one of our cities and take hold of the young men who are able, as it is, to associate free of charge with any of their fellow citizens they may choose, and they can persuade them to leave this society for theirs, and pay them money, and be very grateful to them too. Why is there another philosopher here from Paros? He is in town, I know, for I happen to meet a friend of mine who has spent more money on sophists than all the rest put together, Callias, the son of Hipponachus. Now I put a question to him. He has 2 sons of his own. Callias, I said, if you have 2 sons or only colts or bullocks, we could have hired a trainer for them to make them beautiful and good, and all that they should be, and our trainer would have been, I take it, a horseman or a farmer. But now that they are human beings, have you any trainer in your mind for them? Is there anyone who understands what a man and citizen ought to be? I am sure you have thought of it because you have sons of your own. Is there anyone, I said, or not? Oh yes, said he, certainly there is. Who is he, I asked, and where does he come from, and how much does he charge? Eunice, he answered, from Paros, 5 miles ahead. And I thought Eunice the happiest of men if he really has the power, and can teach for such a moderate fee. Now I should have been set up and given myself great airs if I possessed that knowledge, but I do not possess it, Athenians. Some of you will say, perhaps, but Socrates, what can your calling be? What has given rise to these calumnies? Surely if you had done nothing more than any other man, there would have not been all this talk, had you never acted differently from other people. You must tell us what it is, that we may not be left to make our own theories about you. This seems to me a fair question, and I will try to show you myself what it can be that has given me my name and produced the calumny. Listen to me then. Some of you may think I am in jest, but I assure you I will only tell the truth. The truth is, men of Athens, that I have won my name because of a kind of wisdom, nothing more nor less. What can this wisdom be? The wisdom, perhaps, that is proper to man. It may really be that I am wise in that wisdom. The men I have just named may have a wisdom greater than man's, or else I do not know what to call it. Certainly I do not possess it myself. Whoever says I do lies, and speaks to calumniate me. And pray, gentlemen, do not interrupt me, not even if you think I boast. The words I say will not be my own. I will refer you to a speaker whom you must respect. The witness I will bring you of my wisdom, if such it really is, and its nature, is the god whose dwelling is at Delphi. Now you know Chaerephon, I think. He was my friend from boyhood and the friend of your democracy. He went with you into exile and came back with you. And you know, I think, the kind of man Chaerephon was, how eager in everything he undertook. Well, he made a pilgrimage to Delphi, and had the audacity to ask this question from the oracle. And now I beg you, gentlemen, do not interrupt me in what I am about to say. He actually asked if there was any man wiser than me, and the priestess answered, no. I have his brother here to give evidence of this, for Chaerephon himself is dead.